Hey, this is Ben McClintock from defendingutah.org. And the governor last night just issued another executive order that we want to break down for you. So before we get into that, though, I'm Ben McClintock from defendingutah.org. Please go to defendingutah.org for all the latest articles. Also subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have a great new video on that you should really watch in conjunction with what I'm talking about today on executive orders and their actual legality, because the governor is breaking the law. Subscribe to that. We're being shut down on Facebook slowly. And so if you want to make sure that you get all of our alerts, go to defendingutah.org and sign up for email alerts. And after that, make sure that you check your junk mail, because a lot of junk mail, a lot of email servers, services are actually blackballing us and censoring us by putting our emails into people's junk folders. So make sure you check that as well, to make sure that you are not being silenced and that you're not allowing others to be silenced as well through these different means and ways that these big conglomerates work this program. So the governor's new mandate, you have the video that he did, and then you have the actual mandate that he did, both of them. Any of his orders, he's not a legislator. What he's doing is breaking the law. And so if you think that either Romans 13 or the 12th article of faith say that you are required to do whatever the governor says, you're wrong. Check out our video on those subjects as well. Do Christians need to obey the law? The governor is not allowed to do those things. And so what he says is not law. And in defense of the Constitution and in defense of liberty, you must disobey him because he is acting as a tyrant. Now, let's go and look at what the governor said last night. That was Sunday, November 8th. So let's go ahead and share that and listen to what he had to say.
In conjunction with this order, let me critical announcements. First, because scientists and medical experts overwhelmingly recommend masks as an effective way to limit the spread of COVID-19, I am placing the entire state.
That's why everywhere in the country and in the state of Utah, where they have a mask mandate, the numbers are skyrocketing. Well, there's no correlation. So he's lying to you when he says that masks are an effective way to limit the spread, because we see that where the mandates are, that the spread goes up. Plus, that's an irrelevant number to look at, because whether we have 3,000 cases in a day or we have 500 cases in a day, the average deaths are the same. Plus, the deaths are overreported because they're reporting people that have died with COVID, the same as if they have died of COVID, which are very different things. You have everybody that's dying of this fake pandemic are people that were already sick, or they were already really they were aged and they were already in a weakened condition, and they were going to die of some kind of a cold or some kind of anything that was up in the air going around anyways. These are people that normally we have a normal population that dies because they are already weakened, and you don't take away people's life, liberty, or property without due process. This is not how free societies work. Freedom is more important than safety. Okay, let's just go on from there.
State of Utah under a mask mandate until further notice.
He doesn't have the authority to do that. He's not a legislator. He is a governor. He's the executive branch, which means he executes what the legislative branch tells him to. End of story. He is taking away a power that is not his. He is illegally acting.
Businesses must require employees to wear masks and to promote mask wearing to their patrons and to visibly post signage to that effect.
Okay, he's taking over your business. You own a company, and the governor is telling you what to do with it. Doesn't have the authority to. It is illegal. He can't do this. You have private property. You decide how you use it. The government has no right to tell you how to run your business.
Those who fail to do so will be subject to fines from the Labor Commission. Masks do not negatively affect our economy, and wearing them is the easiest.
It's irrelevant. Masks, of course they don't. That's a straw man. They don't negatively affect our economy. Irrelevant. We're not fascists. We're not Marxists. Our freedom is more important to us than the amount of money that's in our pocket. He's acting as a communist. The Communist Manifesto says that you are an economic creature. Freedom says that your freedom is paramount to how much money you have. He is trying to reverse our American system of government, acting as a tyrant and putting economics above liberty.
Way to slow the spread of the virus. Experts tell us that masks do not cause a shortage of oxygen to your brain or cause disease.
Debunking.
We cannot afford to debate this issue any longer.
Okay. We cannot afford to debate this issue any longer. That's what a tyrant says. He's just going to act. He says, doesn't matter what the debate is. We're not going to give this to the legislature to act. No. He's going to act on his own, and he doesn't care what you have to say. He is trying to steal your agency and your liberty from you.
Individual freedom is certainly important, and it is our rule of law that protects that freedom. Laws are put in place to protect all of us. That's why we have traffic lights and speed limits and seat belts. And that's why we now have a mask mandate.
No, they're not the same. Traffic lights, speed limits, seat belts, those were all passed through the legislature, through the legislative body. Now, whether that's a proper rule of government or not, that's a different argument. But it was done through the legislative process. This has been done, this mask mandate that he's claiming is the same, has been done through a dictatorial decree and is illegal. It is what the founding fathers called pretend legislation.
Second, many of us are careful to exercise caution in public. And our health officials have found that such caution is paying off as the spread in these public and institutional spaces is minimal. So although we are relatively safe in institutional settings such as offices, stores, churches, etc., data tells us that we are most vulnerable to infection in casual social gatherings. It is crucial that we exercise more caution when socializing with those who do not live with us in our homes. Therefore, by order of my office and the Utah Department of Health, Utahns may not participate in or host casual social gatherings with individuals other than those in their immediate household for the next 2 weeks.
Okay, did you hear what he just said right there? He said he's telling you what you're allowed to do in your own home. He's saying, I'm going to tell businesses what they can do. I'm going to tell churches what they can do. And I'm going to tell you what you can do or cannot do in your own home. We must not comply with this tyrant. Otherwise, compliance is encouraging him to act further. You saw this as, the mandates increases, as these local orders and people started to increase their wearing of masks and complying with these orders. He didn't back off. No, as compliance increased, so does his dictatorial attitude. We must not comply.
Which is the incubation period of COVID-19. Many of you will have questions about how to safely gather during the upcoming holidays. We will share with you recommendations and
I was going to tell you what you can do for freaking Thanksgiving and Christmas. And he's acting illegally. You can watch the whole video on his YouTube channel. I'm not going to go any more into this. Let's go into his written order because there's some differences in there between the two. I want to go into you go through the whole thing. We'll have this on our website. If you go to defendingutah.org, we have a new article coming out, What to Do. Utah governor doubles down on breaking the law. A link to this is going to be on that article. So you can read what he says there. He does a lot of whereases, all of this gaslighting, saying that, the more the government is a dictatorship, the safer people are, et cetera, et cetera. And then he goes into some definitions, and he goes into what does this mean? What are the restrictions? Okay, an individual shall wear a mask within 6 feet of any other individual from a separate household. Okay, so if you don't live with somebody, you've got to wear a mask around them. You cannot eat or drink within 6 feet of somebody else from a separate household at a bar or a restaurant, and you may not attend a social gathering unless the social gathering has an event host or occurs at a business, including a bar or restaurant. So you cannot get together with other people in your own home. That's illegal. Now, you can get together with other people that are, of course, at a restaurant that if you don't wear a mask is going to threaten you with $10,000 because that's where he can do this. He can threaten these businesses to enforce his dictatorial decrees. But he realizes that it's very hard to do that when you're in your own home. So he's saying you better not get together with people in your own home because then he can't go after you. An individual has to comply with a face mask and physical distancing requirements. So if you're going to have this within your own home, you have Aunt Martha over, you got to make sure that she's wearing a mask. You got to make sure that little cousin Billy's wearing a mask while he's at your house playing with your kids. So now we look at what the event's hosts have to be able to do. They have to list the symptoms. Businesses, including a bar restaurant, whether or not acting as an event host, shall require everybody to wear a face mask, require each patron to wear a face mask, require everybody be 6 feet apart from each other. Go on and on and on. Extracurricular and social gatherings. Same exact thing with going on there, where we're talking about participants in this. They have to wear a face mask, except for provided, of course, in the exceptions, which I'll get into in a second. So we get the exemptions right here. Okay, you're exempt. He's not going to make you. Isn't he such a benevolent dictator? While you're eating and drinking, he's not going to make you wear a mask. He's so much better than California's governor. So if you're the sole person in the room, he's not going to make you wear a mask. Isn't that so nice of him? When communicating with an individual who's deaf, right? While obtaining or providing a service that requires temporary removal of the mask, such as dental services or speech therapy services. And wow, well, look at here, number 5, while sleeping. Wow, isn't he just so nice? He doesn't make you wear a mask while you're asleep. Exercising outdoors, swimming, duh. He's not going to make you waterboard yourself. While actively performing as an athlete, while giving a religious, political, media, educational, artistic, cultural, musical, or theatrical presentation or performance for an audience. Okay, so what this means is everybody is exempt, because everything we say is either religious, political, educational, artistic, cultural, musical, or a theatrical presentation. Every single thing that you engage in fits in that criteria. Okay. When engaging in work where wearing a face mask would create a risk, when necessary to conform to the individual's identity, right there. Everything is to be able to confirm your identity and conform to your identity. When federal or state law regulations prohibit wearing a face mask, OSHA regulations prevent this in most occupations. So therefore, most occupations actually have an exempt right there. And also, if you're a child who's under the age of 3, an individual who's unconscious, it's not going to make you wear your mask if you're unconscious. And an individual right here is important, because this is basically what's been there the entire time. You're exempt if you have a medical condition, a mental health condition, an intellectual development disability that prevents you from wearing a mask, and an individual who's in jail. Okay. So those are also, it's if you're at religious services, the order does not apply to you. So we've got a lot of groups that are now exempt from this. So what this means is everybody's exempt, because 1, the governor's breaking the law. He can't do this. It's pretend legislation. Ignore it. And if somebody tries to say that, no, you've got to do this, print off the order. It's on our website, defendingutah.org, and get the order with you. Have it on you at all times. You can say, I'm exempt. Go pound sand. Going along with this is now consent. We've gotten to a point where we are 8 months into flattening the curve for 2 weeks. They've lied to us every step of the way. Compliance has led to more draconian, tyrannical dictates. It is time to stop right now. Compliance is consent. It is our job as Christians, as liberty lovers, to no longer consent. Now, what does that mean? As a business owner, do not force your employees to do this. They are exempt. Put a sign on your wall. We'll have these printed that you can put out, that any government employee that comes in to your place of business without a warrant is trespassing. You need to put that on your business. As an individual, make sure that when you're going into a store and they ask you for that you need to wear a mask, you tell them that you are exempt. You don't say you're medically exempt. You don't say you're mentally exempt. You are exempt. End of story. Period. End of sentence. There is no reason. And if you need help, stand with others. You need to register with defendingutah.org. Also register with the Utah Central Committee. These 2 organizations will help defend you in standing up against the governor's illegal mandates. Please go and watch our 2 videos on the mandates, as well as our video on obeying the law of the land. This will help you understand not only your legal options, but your moral options. It is essential. Now, I'm not saying this is going to be easy. I'm not saying that all you got to do is send in your birth certificate or start spelling your name in lower capital letters, or lowercase letters, and all of a sudden you're going to magically be free. That's not how this works. Tyranny is going to get harder. Fighting tyranny is going to get harder, but it's worth it. We have no other option. If we don't fight now, when the stakes are where they're at, then what makes us think that we're going to stand up when things get more crazy, when things get more hard? Now is the time. Now is the time to put the line in the sand and say this far and no further. If you have any more questions, please feel free to reach out to us, comment on this video. Make sure you subscribe to our page and our channel, and make sure you subscribe to our email list so that no matter what happens out there in social media world, you'll still be able to get this message, and we won't be allowed to be silenced. Until next time, I'm Ben McClintock from defendingutah.org.